Have you ever had to call your computer manufacturer, your cell phone provider, or your internet provider for tech support? Yeah, me too. And it's never an enjoyable experience. I'm going to show you how a call center works, why you hate them, and if you stick to the end, I'm going to show you a couple little tricks that'll make your next tech support experience a little more enjoyable. And how do I know? Well, I used to be one of those people on the other end. Thank you for calling Gateway Computers. This is Scott. How may I help you? So I have a little insight as to how the system works. Yes, it's true. And it's not uncommon for people just getting into the field to start in a call center. They're great for building experience, just not really great for paying your bills. So when you first call tech support, you're likely to get stuck with some really bad elevator music in addition to the "your call is very important to us, please stay on the line" type of message. That alone is enough to raise my blood pressure, and it doesn't help if I'm already irritated about the reason I'm calling in the first place. Part of the problem is that a lot of call centers are only open during certain hours, and they're usually understaffed. So you're usually going to be stuck on hold until someone finally answers the phone. But more on that in a minute. So when you finally do get through to an actual agent, this is where your frustration is going to start to grow. Most of the time, you're talking to a warm body sitting in an air-conditioned office, and their only job is to read from a script. After you spend a few minutes explaining your problem, they're not going to have a light bulb pop over the head and go, "Oh, of course I know how to fix that. Let me tell you exactly what you need to do." What they're going to do is they're going to type into a database all the keywords that you used and start reading scripts based on what they think the problem might be. They don't know any different. They're not computer knowledgeable. So have you ever heard, "Make sure your computer's plugged in," or "We need to restart your computer," even though that has nothing to do with the problem? It's because it's in the script. They're supposed to read from line 1, and the first line in the script is, "Let's restart your computer." To make matters worse, call centers have a finite time frame that each agent needs to be able to resolve each problem. In my case, it was 14 minutes when I worked for Gateway. That's picking up the phone, introducing yourself, listening to your problem, searching a database, reading a script, trying to resolve the problem, and then getting you off the phone in a satisfactory manner. All in 14 minutes. And if you had a habit of letting your call times go high, you could get in trouble with management or sometimes even fired. Have you ever heard, "Oh, the problem is not on our end, the problem must be with Microsoft or your local internet provider or your cell phone provider or whatever"? It's never their fault, even though most of the time it is their fault. The whole reason for this is because they want to get you off the phone to meet their call times, because that could determine whether they keep their job or not. They literally don't care about fixing your problem. And these technicians know that since you called them, you're going to trust their judgment. And if you don't know any better and they tell you to call Microsoft, you're going to say, "Okay, I guess it's a Microsoft problem. I'll call them." Doesn't matter. It gets you off the phone and they don't have to deal with you anymore. Now, because the company doesn't know from 1 minute to the next how many calls they're going to get, they generally are going to understaff their call centers. And the reason? Money. Nothing is worse to a company's bottom line than having a couple dozen people sitting around doing nothing, collecting a paycheck, just waiting for someone to call for support. These companies do have specialized software that looks at previous months and previous years and measures the anticipated need for call center staff. But what these programs don't factor in is company growth. So if the company sold 10 to 12% more product than they did the previous year, there's 10 to 12% more product that's going to need support. But they just base staffing on last year's models, which is why you always have a long wait time. Now, one of the additional pain points when you call tech support is who actually answers when you call. Now, back in the mid-1990s, I worked for a company that was outsourced by Gateway Computers. So when you called 1-800-GATEWAY, you got me. It's not the way it works anymore. Everything is outsourced to India or Pakistan or one of those countries overseas, and simply because they cost way less. Unfortunately, that's just how all call centers work nowadays. With budgets shrinking and executive packages exploding, bottom line, profit margin is what's most important to companies nowadays. And that means save any money they can, any way they can, and if they can save hundreds of millions of dollars moving their technical support offshore, they're going to do it. Now, in these overseas call centers, the people who answer the phone have little or no knowledge of the product that you're supporting. They are literally a warm body reading a script. So they don't need knowledge, which means they can be acquired by the company for a lot less money. Pepper in a few knowledgeable support staff to work as management, and that's really all they need to do. They might know the basics, but that's about it. And there's a good chance that you probably know more about the product than they do, but they have to follow the script, and that's what causes your blood pressure to rise even higher. So let me share with you a personal story about an experience I had back in the day. This was years after I had quit the call center. I had a few years under my belt in IT. I wasn't an expert by any means, but I wasn't stupid either. I'll never forget this call. I literally had an HP laptop that I was working on. I needed to reinstall Windows, and I did not have the Windows disk. And this was back in the day before you could just download it from Microsoft and put it on a flash drive. So what I needed to do was run a factory recovery, but I couldn't access the recovery partition or the recovery media creation software. So I said, I'm going to call HP and find out where's the file that I can run to start the process. And this is where the nightmare started. I told the tech on the phone at the very beginning, because I had worked in a call center. I'm like, I'm a PC tech. I know you have a call time. I just have a quick question, and here's what I've done. Here's what I've tried to find. Here's my exact problem. I'm thinking, boom, I'm going to be off the phone in 60 seconds. Anyway, after about my 2 or 3 minute explanation and me trying to help them get me off the phone, I hear, sir, we need you to restart your computer first. Why? Long story short, the level 1 tech that I spoke to just got so frustrated with me. I had asked to speak to someone else. I just ended up being put on hold repeatedly, literally until my cell phone died. It was easier for her to keep me on the phone and forget her call time than to get me back on the phone, because I had an actual solvable computer problem. Total call time was about 6 hours. And that story is the reason why I take care of my clients and treat them the way I do in my local business, because I never want a single person to ever experience what that felt like. So long story short, tech support sucks. You know it, I know it. But here's why. It's all about the money. Most technical support has moved offshore because a company can pay someone in India less than $20 a day versus $12 to $15 a day in the United States for a qualified American to do the same job. Now, $12 to $15, that's 1990s money, is probably even more than that. But the cost to hire someone in India or Pakistan probably is still around $20 a day. For a large company, that cost savings could literally translate into hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And that means that the executives get their mega bonuses each year. It's as simple as that. The company makes money, the executives make money, the customers suffer. Now, these companies don't care about the level of support that you're getting. Why? They already got your money. They got your money when you bought the product. They are not incentivized to provide excellent technical support or customer service after they've already got your money. The money is in the initial purchase, not in the service. Now, when you do call tech support, occasionally you will find somebody that's actually knowledgeable and helpful, but I promise you, it's rare. So next time you have to make a phone call for any kind of technical support, here's a couple things you can do that are going to give you a leg up. Throw them off the script. Understand what they're going to ask you, and tell them that you're only calling them because you've run out of options. Tell them that you know they have a call time to stay under, and you are going to tell them everything you have done to avoid them starting over from the beginning with the typical turn off your computer thing. Tell them you're trying not to waste their time, you just want to find the solution. And as an added bonus, when you mention call time, they might somehow think that you either work for the company and you are a secret caller, and if that's the case, they're going to do everything they can to take care of you. It throws them off their game. They don't know what to do. Every time somebody called and started using terminology that only somebody in the company would probably know, or only somebody who ever worked in a call center would know, I always had that something isn't right, so I would pour it on thick. Now, sometimes that person just can't help you. They either don't know the answer to your question or they can't find it. You'll know in the first couple minutes. So what you do is you ask for a level 2 technician or a senior technician. These are industry terms generally used in call centers, and back to my previous point, it makes them think that you might be a secret caller, and you are much more likely to get the best manager that's walking the perimeter. We used to call them MODs, managers on duty. The person who is generally the smartest person in the room is going to be the person that they flag down and say, hey, I need you right here. And guess what? All you care about is you get somebody on the phone that actually knows what they're talking about, that you can understand, doesn't waste your time or theirs, and at the end of the day, boom, you have a great service call. Just use their terminology to confuse them and make them work for you. Now, if none of that works, what I would recommend is reach out to somebody who doesn't work for that company, but maybe has experience with that company. You know, someone like a local computer guy, or someone who has experience with your cable provider, or maybe has a brother who works for the cable company and can maybe reference somebody you might want to call, or maybe just nudge a guy to call you personally. Use your resources. That's what they're for. And if absolutely nothing else works, thank goodness in 2023 we have social media. Get on Twitter, make a post, tag that company, let them know about the horrible service you've received, because guess what? Everybody who's on that Twitter account is seeing you posting about how upset you are. And companies hate bad publicity. Doesn't really do much for their brand. Promise you, you get on there and rant enough and hashtag and at a company, here's what I've done. I've made 12 calls and gotten nowhere, whatever. People are going to be reading this, and I promise you, you're going to get somebody to reach out to you. And if that doesn't work, then you know what? You've exhausted all your possibilities. Make a point to ban that brand from your brain forever, because you know what kind of support they're going to give you. Have you had a horrible tech support experience? Share it down below. I'd love to read about it. In the meantime, to make sure you don't have to call tech support the next time your computer blue screens on you, you should click on this video right here. It shows you how to download a copy of Windows to a flash drive before you need it, and also another great utility that's going to give you some extra tools and resources to use the next time you have a computer problem. Thanks for listening. Talk to you later.